pick back up on. Let's pick back up on. Let's start back on melanin. I skipped over a few things, but we're dealing with a time frame that I got to meet, so we're going to pick right back up on melanin. You know, because sometimes, generally speaking, when African people talk about melanin, it's usually relegated down to skin melanin only. Y'all feel me on that? You know, when you talk to people about melanin, it's usually you hear the same thing. Melanin is in the dermis and epidermis layers of the skin. It protects the skin cells from the UV rays of the sun that would otherwise penetrate the skin cells, burn them out, causing melanoma, skin cancer. This is very, very true, and it's a very, very important attribute of melanin, right? But melanin is filtered all throughout the body, all throughout the mind. There's 12 locations of melanin on the African brainstem, which I have a picture right here. On the African brainstem, 12 melanin cell centers that are on the African brainstem. Now, these melanin cell centers generate high volumes of energy because that's what melanin is. It's an energy conductor, right? So these melanin cell centers emit energy. Now, what they do is all 12 generate energy. The energy is then comprised in one body of energy. It's moved up to the top two realms of energy, which is locus coeruleus and the substantial nigra. Now, let's be clear. Melanin is a foreign word. That's a Greek word. Our ancestors call it kim-tum. Kim meaning black, tum meaning the atom. The scientific word that we know as atom came from kim-tum. Tum is the microscopic particle of the sun, like a miniature sun, right? Kim-tum, the rising sun, right? So kim-tum is actually called the black atom, and that's where the word melanin comes from. It's describing what our ancestors considered the black atom, the kim-tum, okay? So once the energy is comprised into one body from this high volume energy that is emitted from these 12 melanin cell centers on the brainstem of the African, it then moves up. And as it moves up this scale, it increases in strength till it gets to the top of the melanin cell center, which is the locus coeruleus and the substantial nigra. It is at this point where the melanin is highly energetic, and it activates what is called neurotransmitters. Only when this process happens and the energy moves throughout the 12 melanin cell centers up to the top, automatically neurotransmitters are activated. We're talking about acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine. These neurotransmitters send energy, high volumes of energy via electrons into both hemispheres of the brain, right? So melanin becomes the battery that then turns on the brain components, such as the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the endocrine gland, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the hippocampus, right? So it's like in an African brain, we need melanin to turn on the brain function so the brain functions can carry out their normal functioning, their natural functioning, right? Now, do Europeans have the same brain functions? They do. But they do. They have a hypothalamus. They have a hippocampus. They have a pituitary gland. But the difference is that their brain has no melanin, so the battery doesn't turn on. See, melanin is like a battery, so their brain functions are never turned on, so they don't work. It's like having, if I had a car, right? If I had a brand new car, and the interior is nice, the paint job is nice, the tires are nice, I got a nice engine in my car, you know what I mean? Would that car move 1 inch without a battery? You see what I'm saying? This is the same thing that's going on in your brain. The melanin is the battery that turns on the brain functions. For example, the hippocampus, right? The hippocampus in the human brain acts as like a information processor. It takes perception of the physical and material world and connects it back to conception or the spiritual purpose of that which is being perceived in the physical and material world. Okay, for example, so in an African consciousness, an African hippocampus, a tree is not just a tree. A tree is part of the body of the Creator. It has a purpose for the African. It's It's our brotherhood. It's our sisterhood. It's a relative of ours. The tree is part of the same creative umbrella that we belong to, right? So the tree provides shelter. The tree provides medicine. The tree provides gums and herbs. The trees provide photosynthesis. It provides oxygen and respiration. The green in the leaf is chlorophyll. So it gives us respiration, breathing, life. It allows us to live. So we respect the tree. Because the purpose of the tree was provided to the tree from the Creator to help us survive on this planet environmentally. You see what I'm saying? So we're not going to violate the tree. We're not going to cut the tree down. We're not going to spit on the tree. We're not going to disrespect the tree, because by doing so, we're disrespecting ourselves. We're disrespecting the creative order of the universe that we are a member of, right? Now, for the Europeans, they have a hippocampus, but the European hippocampus is never turned on. Why is it never turned on? They don't have any melanin, right? So a tree to a European is just a tree. And if it's just a tree, why not exploit it? Deforestation, logging. I turned on the TV one day, and I saw ESPN. They had what is called the World Strongman Contest. You ever see this ridiculous thing? You know what I mean? You ever seen this nonsense? They had a bunch of crackers, like 4 of them lined up with obviously a log that was cut off a very old tree, and they were running up the mountains in competition, right? So they done violated the tree so they can compete against the tree. See, because they have no melanin, so they don't care. There's no spiritual connection to the tree. You see what I'm saying? Now, with that said, there's still an even more important function of melanin that goes under the radar. And I think we talked about it earlier. And that is the fact that melanin acts as a physiological conduit that chemically and spiritually connects the mind and the psyche of African people to and through all 5 realms of nature. And these 5 realms are African humanity nature, African ancestral nature, animal nature, environmental nature, and celestial cosmic nature. So nature, these 5 realms of nature become the body of the Creator. This is the Creator. This is the body of the Creator, because there's no head without the body, no body without the head. These 5 realms of nature make up the body of the Creator, and African people are part of this body. So African humanity is the Creator in human form. The ancestors are the Creator in ancestral form. The animals are the Creator in animal form. The environment is the Creator in environmental form. And the cosmos is the Creator in cosmic form, okay? This is the body of the Creator. Now, throughout, you can go through nature and you can say to yourself, well, in nature, within these 5 realms of nature, everything that's natural, everything that's organic that lies inside these natures, the fire, the animals, Africans, could be classified as part of the Creator's purpose, everything, right? But there were 6 tenets of purpose that seem to be most important to our ancestors, because these 6 tenets of purpose directly identify with the life force of African people, right? And these 6 tenets of purpose were Tawi, the unification of dual energies, the balance of nature, Ma'at, the purification of nature, the proliferation of nature, the procreation of nature, and the destination of the soul. Now, Ma'at is doing right based on ancestral truth. If you do as a reflection of the ancestral truth, you will stay in alignment with Ma'at. If you deviate away from ancestral truth, you will deviate away from Ma'at. Now, Ma'at has nothing to do with polarity. It's not about weighing opposites and nothing like that. Ma'at is balance achieved through the perfection of cycles and through the perfection of purpose, right? And the cycle we talk about Tawi, because the male sperm has to connect with the female egg in order for the fetus to be activated, in order for a life form to begin in the womb of the African woman. That life form starts the procreative cycle of life. That is the primary purpose of the Creator, in human terms, the procreative cycle of life. The life-death balance of African humanity does not occur unless there is a cycle, the procreative cycle of life. The procreative cycle of life doesn't occur unless Tawi happens, the unification of dual energies in the form of the male sperm and the female egg. So unification had to happen first to activate the procreative cycle of life, and the balance, the life-death balance of humanity would never have taken place if that cycle didn't start. Everybody follow me? Okay. So the purification of nature is self-explanatory, you know. The opposite of purification is contamination. You know, contamination causes illnesses and sicknesses. Sickness causes an obstruction in the balance of the house, the balance of your health, the balance of the community. If everybody's sick, nothing gets done, right? So sickness causes an imbalance in ma'at. So purification is the opposite. Purification, everything pure is clean. Everything pure is healthy. The thing with our life is to always stay healthy, always to eat clean food so we can stay healthy. Contaminated food manifests in disease. Disease causes an obstruction. So purification is self-explanatory. The proliferation of nature deals with the harvest. Again, the cycles. You till the soil, you plant the seed, you pick the harvest. You till the soil, you plant the seed, you pick the harvest. Season after season, cycle after cycle, proliferation after proliferation. We eat, we live, and we live in conjunction with Ma'at. Procreation of nature is self-explanatory because if we as African people don't put a generation of human beings on this planet every 20 years, then in human terms, the Creator will die. You can say, or you can talk about it all day, or the Creator is eternal, not in human terms if there's no human beings here. You see what I'm saying? So it's our obligation to put a generation of human beings on this planet just to extend the purpose of the Creator in human terms. Every 20 years, 15 years, let's say 20 years, 25 years, 20 years, every 20 years. You know what I mean? The destination of the soul. And that's self-explanatory. Everybody sitting in this room tonight is concerned about when they physically transition, what direction is your soul going in? Aren't you concerned about that? You know what I mean? Now, the destination of your soul. Oh, good. Okay. It's all good. We just got a visitor. But we stomped him out, so we good. We stomped him out, you know. It actually was a white roach, but he got like a brown lab jacket from the back. And the brother was smart enough to peep that out, that it really was a white roach wearing a brown lab jacket. Brother, you are good. I didn't even see it. So the destination of the soul is determined based on the quality of life, okay? The quality of your life. Your soul, the direction of your soul is determined by the quality of your life, the judgment of the soul, right? Based on how well you lived in conjunction with the laws of nature, okay? Now, within these 5 realms of nature exist certain very important, what we call energy portals. And these energy portals are very important because what our ancestors said was this. There are energy portals that exist throughout nature that are important to the African psyche, the African spirit, the African livelihood, because certain energy portals in nature bring the Creator's purpose via that energy portal right into the psyche of the African, explaining to the African what our purpose is as designated by the Creator. Now, these energy portals were called neters or neters. These are energy portals that our ancestors identified that exist throughout these 5 nature realms. And they were very important because through these energy portals transmitted the purpose of the Creator directly into the psyche of the African. So these energy portals were very important. They were called neters or neters, right? Now, on the cosmic nature, Saturn, the creative purpose of Neter is Satek Ra. Jupiter, the creative purpose of Neter is Her Wepes Tawi. Mars, the creative purpose of Neter is Her Deshet. Venus, the creative purpose of Neter is Jai or Ba'a. Mercury, the creative purpose of Neter is Sabgu. Earth, the creative purpose of Neter is Jeb or Seb. Sun, the creative purpose of Neter is Ra. Moon, the creative purpose of Neter is A Kanzu. Tahuti Asa Aset, based on the phasing of the moon and the time period in which African people live, and because different time periods, they observe the moon differently based on the phasing, right? Stars, the creative purpose of nature is Seba. And the pole stars were very, 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 very important in Kemet. Very important. Now, there were northern pole stars and there were southern pole stars. Now, since we're in the northern hemisphere, we'll talk about the northern pole stars. Now, the northern pole star sits high in the northern sky above the Earth's north pole, and it sits motionless. It doesn't move. And because it doesn't move, it became a good marker for navigation for people that were traveling, whether they traveling by water, by land. They could always look at that north pole, the northern pole star, and chart their travels by where that northern pole star was. But that's not the reason why the northern pole star was important to our ancestors. The northern pole star, the pole stars in general, and the stars that circumvent around it, these are called circumpolar stars. The circumpolar stars and the pole star, they never set under the horizon. Check this out. You got to get this. This is why pole stars were very important in Kemet, because they never died. They never set under the horizon. So when you say that, we're a manifestation, our souls are a manifestation of stars, not stars, pole stars, because pole stars never die. So pole stars live eternally. And that's why pole stars were very important in Kemet. And today, currently, the pole star is in the constellation of Ursa Minor, and the pole star is Polaris today. But our ancestors called this constellation the Netzer Ampu, the jackal. Okay. The environment, the air, the oxygen, the creative purpose of Netzer is Shu. The water, the fire, creative purpose of nature is Tefnut. And these are self-explanatory because, just like the brother, I think Siddiqui said earlier, if you don't have air, you don't believe. You got to understand that your purpose is, that air is an energy portal that the creative purpose for you filters through. Because if without air, you wouldn't be here. So the air becomes a netzer. A netzer is, the word nature itself extends from the Kemetic netzer. If you say netzer fast enough, netzer, nature, 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 that's where they get the word nature from. They get it from netzer. Okay, which is a spirit force of nature that defines the creator purpose. Okay, so we have the water, self-explanatory. Water is a natural purifier. The soil, the creator purpose of nature is Jeb, out the earth. The energy, the creator purpose of nature is Ra. The trees, the creator purpose of nature is Nehet. We just talked about the tree a little bit. The sycamore tree, which is a very, very, I won't get deep into the sycamore tree, but it's called the mother tree. It's a very important tree in Kemet, very important symbolic, metaphoric attributes to the tree, to the sycamore tree. It was called the mother tree. It was the creative purpose of nature is Het Heru, or nut, and also Aset, okay? The happy river, the flood, the creative purpose of nature is happy. Now, let's talk about happy, for example, for a minute, because happy is very important. This is the metaphor. The happy that they call the Nile River starts in the south, the mountain of the moons, the mountains of Ethiopia. I mean, we know that there's tributaries in the Sudan and Zimbabwe and Kenya, but for the most part, according to our ancestors, the root of the happy river started in the mountain of the moons, in the hills of Ethiopia, okay? Now, every summer solstice, before the building of the Aswan Dam, the Happy River would flood up south, right? And as it would flood, our African ancestors would build irrigation channels in preparation for this water to fertilize the land. But it wasn't the water that they built the irrigation channels for to fertilize the land. It was this really powerful earth mineral called silt. Silt is a reddish brown mineral. Silt is what came up from the south. It's a reddish brown earth mineral that came from the south, the root of the Happy River, and it came up south every summer solstice. It went into the irrigation channels. It would fertilize the soil. And so the harvest would be a new purified harvest would be born thereafter, okay? Now, prior to the summer solstice, at around maybe 3 in the morning, the star Sahu rises, right? And right before the sun on the summer solstice, the brightest star in the sky, Sebdet, rises right before the sun. Now, Sebdet was a metaphoric manifestation of Aset, and Sahu, the star Sahu, was a metaphoric a metaphor for the Asar. So the metaphor is that Asar and Aset join in union, in sexual union, to produce the newborn son Heru at the summer solstice. Now, right when Sebdet rises, right before Heru rises, the flood begins. Okay, so the flood doesn't happen after the sun rises. The flood happens still in the pre-dawn, right after Sebdet rises. Now remember, Sebdet and Asar, they done got it on. They have their sexual union on, and she's pregnated. And the pregnation, lends itself to the rising of the newborn son at the summer solstice. The metaphor is that the unborn son before the sun rises is in the amniotic sac of the woman. The root womb of the amniotic sac is the placenta. The reddish brown silt from the bottom of Happy is the blood, the nutrient-rich blood that comes from the placenta to feed the unborn son in the woman's amniotic sac, right? So the umbilical cord, through the umbilical cord, and the umbilical cord is shaped like a snake, and the Nile River is shaped like a snake. So the Nile River, the land, the body around the Nile River takes on the persona of an African woman. And the irrigating of the land is fertilizing the dark feminine womb of the African woman in preparation for new life. So everybody get the metaphor? Okay, all right. So the rain, the creative purpose of nature is men. Now the rain was considered the sperm of the creator because it fertilizes the earth egg, just like the sperm of the man fertilizes the female egg. You know what I mean? Now, check out the metaphor here. Right before a man has an orgasm, he makes a loud sound. Right before it rains, it thunders. The sound that a man makes when he's getting ready to have an orgasm, when he's making love to his woman, is metaphorically, chemically, the son of thunder, the sound of thunder, the sound that thunder makes in preparation for the new cosmic rain, right, that fertilizes the earth egg. So when y'all get home tonight, you can say, "Bring the thunder, baby." Bring the thunder. I still got my two-step, right? Okay, all right. The animals. Okay, so the lion is the creative purpose of nature is Mahes Aker, the feminine Bastet. The donkey, the ass, the creative purpose of nature is U. The beetle, the creative purpose of nature is Kepra. Elephant, the creative purpose of nature is Threbu. The crocodile, the creative purpose of nature is Sobek. The frog, the creative purpose or netchert is Heket. Now you notice there's a suffix T. In Kemet, the suffix T represents the essence of feminine energy because the essence means that there's the potential for motherhood. This is an energy portal that can procreate life on this planet, right? So every woman of Kemet should have in suffix T at the end of her name because it represents the essence of feminine energy. Okay, so the hawk, the creative purpose of nature, is Heru. The jackal, the creative purpose of nature, is Ampu. The vulture, the creative purpose of nature, is Nekbet or Mut. The snake, the creative purpose of nature, is Nehebka, Renanetet, Sata, and Apap. Now let's talk about the snake, for example. Now, there were many snakes in Kemet, and pretty much all the snakes in Kemet were metaphorically aligned to the purpose of the creator, right? One of the metaphors for the snake was that the snake was the umbilical cord. Hold up. The snake was the umbilical cord inside the dark feminine womb of the African woman, right? Now the metaphor is this. The darkness of the feminine womb of the African woman was a metaphor for the night sky that births the newborn sun every morning in the east, right? Okay? So the umbilical cord was called the connector. It was called the carrier, right? Because the umbilical cord, the umbilical cord connects both worlds. See, because the dark feminine womb was aligned to the cosmic night sky. So you have the dark womb, and you have the night sky in metaphoric alignment. So the womb of the African woman is actually the cosmic womb, okay? The same cosmic womb that birthed the newborn sun every morning in the east, right? So the umbilical cord is what connects both worlds, because when a woman has a baby, the umbilical cord, when the baby comes out, the baby is introduced to the earth realm of nature. But the umbilical cord is still connected to the cosmic womb. So the cosmic womb, another word for the cosmos is the heavens. So the snake connects the heavens and the earth. So the snake is like a connector. Now, when you go to Kemet, one scene that you see on the temple walls a lot is a flying snake taking the soul back up to the heavens. You'd be like, what's that about? But it's metaphoric, because the same portal that birthed you, right, through the umbilical cord is the same portal you return to, metaphorically, when your physical life ends. So instead of your physical life going back through the female womb, it goes back through the cosmic womb, the heavens. Everybody understand? Okay. Scorpion, the creative purpose of Netzer is a nutket. The cow, the creative purpose or Netzer is Heteru. The baboon, the creative purpose is Babi. The ram, the creative purpose of Netzer is Aman. Now, so here we want to talk about how do we become the embodiment, right? The embodiment of, because our purpose is to become the embodiment with the Creator. You know, when we go through our cycles of meditation or whatever we're doing, what we're trying to do is become one with the Creator, right? And according to our ancestors, how you did this was to bring in the Netzers into your consciousness, and through ritual and deep concentration, elevate that Netzer up to your subconscious state of spiritual oneness. See, because if you concentrate on something very deeply, you have the potential to change the molecular energy in that space between you and the object or the metaphysical object that you are attempting to acquiescence with, that you are attempting to communicate with. And another word for deep concentration is meditation. Okay? So, again, the whole concept of meditation is about to bring the Netzer into your consciousness, and through ritual and deeper meditation, you can raise that Netzer up from your consciousness into your subconscious, where you get a sensory of spiritual oneness with the Creator, with the purpose, the totality of the purpose of that Netzer. You know what I mean? Everybody follow me? Okay. So this is a deeper level of meditation. This is an African level of meditation. This is African spirituality at its finest, right? You know what I mean? So now, here's the deal. Let's take the animals, for example, right? Let's take Sobek, for example. In order for you to bring in the Netzer Sobek into your consciousness in an attempt to raise your consciousness to a state of spiritual oneness, number one, before we get there, let me just talk about the ritual, because what you want to do is wake up the Netzer. And how you wake up the Netzer is through drumming, right? Like if somebody's asleep, you want to wake them up, you drum. Go to the bedroom, your son is not awake, you play some drums, he'll wake right up. Sometimes you have to wake up the Netzer through drumming. The space in which you're trying to acquiescence with the Netzer should be clean and purified. So you use water, which is libation, okay? If you call somebody's name, if you chant, like if I need $10 from you, and I'm your little brother, and I need $10, and I keep saying, man, I need $10. I need $10. And you be like, come on, man, I ain't got I need $10, man. I'm going to say I need $10 so much, you're just going to give me the $10. If I chant the Netzer's name enough, maybe the Netzer will wake up so we can communicate. So chanting, libation, and drumming are forms of the ritual that help you, when you bring the Netzer into your consciousness, allows you to raise your consciousness to a state of spiritual oneness. Okay? Now, the thing with the Netzer is this. If you do not know the behavioral attribute of the animal, you'll never know what the Netzer is about. Okay? So you can go buy anything from the store and put them all up in your shrine in your bedroom, but if you don't know that behavioral attribute, because the Netzer runs through the behavioral attribute of the animal. Okay? So you have to know the behavioral attribute of the crocodile.